Good morning, XRP community. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about rumors circulating across the crypto world. A theory that claims Donald Trump could use Ripple's XRP escrow to erase the US national debt. It all started when several posts on X began suggesting that Ripple's massive escrow account, valued at around $200 billion, could be handed over to the US Treasury, giving the government access to XRP's liquidity to pay off its growing debt, which now exceeds $38 trillion. The idea sounds extraordinary, and it is. But is it even possible? Let's break it down step by step. First, a quick recap of how Ripple's escrow works. The company holds a large amount of XRP, locked in smart contracts, to ensure a controlled release of tokens into the market over time. That escrow is not government-owned, nor can it be legally seized or expropriated by the US government without Ripple's consent. Any transfer would need to be voluntary, and that's the first major obstacle to this theory. Now, where does Trump come into the picture? The rumor ties back to comments he made earlier this year, where he said he'd like to eliminate the US national debt using cryptocurrencies. He didn't specify which one, but given Ripple's growing presence in the financial sector and its potential ties to US banking infrastructure, many speculated he might have been referring to XRP. Recently, an article claimed that if the US gained control of Ripple's escrow and XRP's price were gradually raised to $500 per token, the debt could theoretically be erased. At that valuation, the US would hold enough XRP to balance its entire debt sheet. But the math here tells a more complex story. For the US to pay off even half of its national debt, the total escrow would need to be worth around $19 trillion, meaning XRP would have to reach roughly $543 per coin, representing a 21,600% increase from today's price levels. Even more interestingly, some analysts predict that under bullish conditions, like mass ETF adoption and global payment integration, XRP could eventually reach the $200 to $500 range. But others argue that such prices would require massive institutional and governmental adoption, not just speculation. So could the US government take the escrow? The short answer is no. Ripple's XRP holdings are private assets. There's no legal mechanism that allows the US government to seize or claim those tokens unless Ripple voluntarily transfers them. However, a voluntary partnership or a strategic acquisition is theoretically possible. Ripple could negotiate a deal where it sells or lends part of its escrow to the Treasury in exchange for a federal charter, potentially transforming Ripple into a digital bank or even a Federal Reserve partner for blockchain-based settlements. That scenario isn't completely far-fetched, especially since Ripple has already applied for banking licenses in the US and continues to expand its institutional reach. If granted such status, Ripple could play a foundational role in building a new digital financial infrastructure, one that merges crypto with central banking operations. But even then, it wouldn't mean that XRP's value automatically skyrockets to $500. That kind of valuation depends on global liquidity flows, regulatory clarity, and real-world adoption, not on symbolic political gestures. So, while it's true that some crypto enthusiasts believe in this Trump XRP escrow theory as part of a larger financial reset, most analysts agree that it's highly speculative. It's a fascinating thought experiment, one that highlights how powerful XRP could become as a global liquidity asset. But it remains just that, a theory. Still, the underlying point shouldn't be ignored. Ripple's technology is already aligning with the future of global payments, and the idea of using digital assets to rebalance debt or fund national projects is gaining traction worldwide. So, even if the US doesn't take over Ripple's escrow, the broader direction is clear. Governments are beginning to view blockchain and tokenized value as strategic tools, not threats. And XRP's role in that transformation could become more central than anyone expects. In conclusion, no, the US cannot simply take Ripple's escrow. Yes, XRP would need to reach astronomical values to offset the national debt. But the symbolism of this debate shows us something much bigger. that the bridge between crypto and government finance is forming right before our eyes. Stay tuned, because what sounds impossible today may just be the foundation of tomorrow's financial system.